on Iran following Israel's attack on Iran resulted in the Iranian nuclear program being irreversible, set back by targeting 3 Iranian nuclear facilities. Therefore, Iran has a weaker point, even in its nuclear domain. So they would now to be able to monitor, inspect, and verify Iran is not building a nuclear weapon.
Continuing on what you just said, Ahmad, let's talk about the status. Whatever remains of it appears to be on Washington's agenda.
Yes, I mean, the nuclear file seems to be lingering on, primarily because you cannot bomb out the knowledge of a nation on a specific industry or technology. However, we are able to. Iran's nuclear program remains peaceful. And mind you, the only state, even though they do not openly say it, is Israel. So here in the Middle East, there's only one nuclear weapon state, Israel. And there's Iran with an advanced nuclear program that can be curtailed, limited, ensured that it's peaceful. We can reach a deal on this, but as you mentioned, it's within the framework of an interim deal, whereby then we can expand into other areas of importance. May that be energy security, the support for proxies across the region. May that be the ballistic missile issue that is now within an Iran, whereby regional countries and global powers within UN Security Council will be invited to participate so that we realize that a US-Iran issues at hand are not limited to these 2 countries. Iran's ballistic missile program, Iran's nuclear program, Iran's humanitarian conditions that are facing massacre of the Iranian government of the protesters, and a horde of other issues cannot be resolved without the involvement of regional countries around the table.
So really, a lot's at stake, obviously, because the talk effectively determines
our wish, and I'm saying this as a human being, not just as an Iranian. In a war, nobody wins. I was raised in war between Iraq. I've seen the 1 million people who died on both sides. And this time, a war between US and Iran is not limited to Iran. Yes, Iran will hurt, Iran will bleed. Possibly the regime will fall. All of these things are possible. But with it, the Iranian government and its military will be able to inflict, along with its proxies and other assets, enormous harm. US military personnel, bases, and by extension, unfortunately, burn the whole region with it, including attacks directly on Israel.
So you're talking about repercussions for the wider region. We are that, but first, Donald Trump hasn't really made clear his of the possible military action. Is he trying to, strengthen his position ahead of the negotiations?
Definitely. I mean, when you come to negotiating, you've got a gun on the head of the leadership in Iran. It's quite convincing and could result in major concessions by the Iranians. How important, and this is again understanding the other side, is that within the Iranian leadership, for 47 years, one of the mantras of their revolution that ousted the Shah in 79, and the key ally of the US in the region, is that they are opposed to imperialists, and the US as the hegemon that is seeking to control others. Based on that ideology, we may not believe it, but they do. They will fight to the last drop of blood to be able to fend off this latest military threat on Iran.
Now, speaking of leadership, what is the likelihood that a regime change, a possible regime change, is on the cards for Donald Trump?
I am sure that with thinking and analysis and scenarios, the administration seeks a change in Iran's leadership. If that comes through internal upheaval and change by the people of Iran, or by external threats and use of force, I'm pretty certain, part of the package and part of the reasoning why they are now bringing so many of their military assets around Iran.
Now, Iran is not in a strong position. It's internally weakened due to, obviously, the bloody protests against the leadership and the economy. Is this likely to play into the negotiations?
Indeed, Iran is weakened. its proxies, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis and others, have been severely damaged and weakened by Israel's attacks on those groups, in addition to the United States. And so Iran is weak regionally from its allies, and internally, as you have highlighted, we saw the largest uprising following the Women, Life, Freedom movement of 2022, that Iranian public is now reached a level that cannot accept this current government from continuing. There's one way that we can change this that will involve massive violence, and that's through a transformation and change in Iran by the Iranians, and the opposition to this government is within the jails and rotting in those cells of Iran, and this is where the opposition to the Iranian government is. It's not sitting in Washington, it's not sitting in London or Tel Aviv. It's in Iran by the Iranian people. They've done it before, they can do it again.
Indeed, but this is, I just wanted to ask you, is this a likely scenario in your opinion? I mean, you yourself have family in Iran, and you told me just earlier before the interview that you could.
The protests haven't ended. The opposition to this current government hasn't ended. We know that there are ways forward if we give the Iranian public and people the means and the space to be able to then manifest what they wish. But a war with Iran by the United States will set back this movement, because repression of the United States on Iranian government will inevitably then unleash repression by the state even more on the public.
Ashraf Hakimi said to face rape trial in Paris Saint-Germain Champions League match squad. Chief of Executive 2013 Winter Olympic Games Organized Committee steps down. News update and headlines. Iran, United States. Iran's top diplomatic leaves Geneva for talks with U.S. negotiation. United States. Donald Trump said he prefers to solve Iran confrontation through diplomacy.
Administration. Democratic lawmakers say that the U.S. government is withholding evidence that could implicate the president in criminal activity.
These are the files that the FBI has removed from their public Department of Justice database. The yellow files here are the files that President Trump is hiding. The yellow files here are investigations with a woman who was abused as a minor and who alleged that Donald Trump was her abuser.
Dozens of FBI witness interviews appear to be missing from public records, according to U.S. media reports. And numerous alleged victims say they cannot find their testimonies in the 3 million new documents released by the Department of Justice at the end of January. At the State of the Union on Tuesday, Democratic lawmakers wore pins demanding the release of the missing files and brought a dozen Epstein accusers as their guests.
Where are the rest of the files? The truth must come out. Why are there no investigations when there are plenty of people in these files to investigate?
Since the files have been made public, there have been high-profile arrests and investigations around the world into those named in the documents. But no such investigation has been opened in the United States. The White House has dismissed claims of Trump's involvement with Epstein's criminal sex ring as false and sensationalist, and the president did not mention the late sex offender in his speech. In response to the allegations, the Department of Justice denied any wrongdoing. saying that any missing documents were either duplicates or part of an ongoing federal investigation.
Now, it was the longest program and hitting out at Democrats over immigration. But for more, Philip Tarl, our international affairs editor, joins me in the studio. Philip, so what were the main takeaways of that?
United States, our nation is back. United States, the state of our union is strong. Our country is winning again. Donald Trump. United States, we have the most secure border in American history by far. Donald Trump. United States, America is respected again, perhaps like never before. Donald Trump claims. Trump demands Congress pass voter ID law. United States, Trump in front of Justice slams very unfortunate Supreme Court tariff ruling. Trump beat Bill Clinton's record for longest State of the Union speech, speaking for approximately 1 hour and 7 minutes. Top Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer calls Trump's speech to Congress delusional. Northeast United States scramble to clear piles of snow as new storm descend. News update and headlines. War in Ukraine, 4 killed in Ukrainian drone attack on Russia's Smolensk region, governor says. War in Ukraine, Ukraine negotiator to meet U.S. envoy Thursday ahead of fresh Russia talks, Zelensky. Ghana FM in Kiev urge Ukraine to release 2 Ghanaian POWs. Vatican, Pope Leo XIV to visit Monaco on March 28, Vatican says. Pope to visit Central of Africa and Algeria in April, Spain in June, Vatican says. Britain had ratification of Cargo Island deal, minister says. United Kingdom begin enforcing electronic travel permit for visitors from 85 countries. United Nations step up border checks on baby milk ingredients from China. Francois Macron names Christopher Loribo, current head of Versailles Palace, as new Louvre Museum director. French MPs vote on assisted dying bill after Senate rejects first version in January. Auto industry, Aston Martin hit by US tariffs on car makers say to cut 20% of tariffs. Achraf Hakimi set to face trial for rape in Paris Saint-Germain Champions League match squad. News update and headline. Cyr Rinette, Chief of Executive 2013 Winter Olympic Games Organizing Committee. News update and headlines.